Thank you. So this is an introduction before the introduction. This evening is all about introductions. So here's the pro forma part. Todd Gray was born in 1954 in Los Angeles. Gray received an MFA and a BFA from CalArts and is currently a professor at Cal State University Long Beach. He's shown performance work at Red Cat, the California African American Arts Museum, 2009, the Commons at New York University, 2008, 18th Street Art Center in Santa Monica, the New Renaissance Theater in Syracuse, New York, the Academy of Media Arts in Cologne, it's 2004. Gray's work is in the collections of the Los Angeles County Museum of Art, the Museum of Contemporary Art, Los Angeles, the National Gallery of Canada in Ottawa, the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, the Studio Museum in Harlem, New York, University of Connecticut, the University of Parma, Italy, and Gray is also the recipient of a Los Angeles International Airport Public Art Commission in 2007, a California Community Foundation Fellowship for Visual Arts in 2005, a Pasadena Arts Alliance grant in 2004, and a City of Los Angeles Individual Artists Fellowship in 1997. He's currently showing at Melixetian and Briggs, and the show is up now. I think it runs through August 8th, but it's called Time Machine / Hippie Dandy. And I wanted to get that part out of the way, because what this evening is really about is the artist who Arm and I invited to show that we, in fact, didn't know. So these were simply the facts of the matter. After speaking with Todd Gray about the work that's included in Made in LA, in which he wears Ray Manzarek's wardrobe. He befriended Ray Manzarek when he was 14 years old. He struck up what would be a lifelong friendship with Ray. He was a seminal figure in Todd's life insofar as he encouraged Ray to pursue his dreams to become a photographer. Once he passed away, after his passing, Todd approached Dorothy Manzarek, the widow, to gain access to Ray's wardrobe. And in a gesture that was probably more of a memorial than it was a work of art, Todd wore Ray's clothes for the length of 1 year, the duration of 1 year. We asked him to remount the piece, insofar as it's a piece, for the exhibition. So for the duration of the exhibition, he's wearing Ray Manzarek's wardrobe, articles of clothing from Ray's wardrobe. But what I realized, I actually got to meet Todd I didn't meet him until afterwards. I included him in an exhibition in 2008, Black Is, Black Ain't. And I saw him a few years later, where he was actually doing the Ray Manzarek piece. Then inviting him to participate in this exhibition. And it was only after talking to him that I realized I knew about that he had photographed, he was Michael Jackson's photographer for some years. So that I knew, but that was about it. The only Todd Gray that I knew was pretty much the equivalent of what I just read. Todd Gray, the artist. What I didn't know was Todd Gray's other life, his larger life, his life before becoming an artist, in the sense that I think Arm and I would recognize. And this evening is about getting to know Todd, that Todd, the pre-Todd Todd, in a way. So this evening will have two parts. The first part, he'll read Letters to Dorothy, which are included in the catalog. And the second part is pretty much straight up live show and tell. Todd Gray's life in pictures. So if you would join me in welcoming to the stage Todd Gray.
Thank you, Hamza, for that wonderful introduction. Thank you, Hammer, for this opportunity, which I'm very grateful to be a part of. Thank you, audience, for braving the traffic and coming. I know I would have had second thoughts myself. And anyone else I left out? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Big shout out, Alan Sekula. May he rest in peace. I would not be in this chair had I not been a student of Alan Sekula. Big shout out. Sally Stein. Yeah. Okay. Dear Dorothy, during the course of the year, I often think back to the time we first met at the 1968 Los Angeles Car Show. I was 14 and had zero interest in cars, but my father fancied a sports car after turning 41, so I went along. Classic. A tall man with long hair walking through the crowd caught my eye, but the graphic patterns on your mini dress seized control of my vision. I could not believe I was seeing a hippie couple at such a square, mainstream event as this. Then I realized that the tall, Natalie-dressed man was with an attractive Asian woman, just like the picture of the couple I'd seen in the LA Free Press. Instantly, time slowed. My pulse raced. I was looking at one of the doors. Every night, I was lulled to sleep by Ray's hands on the organ keys. The Doors were more than a rock group to me. They helped me draw the line in the sand, separating me from my father. Each night, I'd put on my headphones and blast "The End." When the music's over, along with "If 6 Was 9" by Jimi Hendrix, before slipping off into a dreamland where hippies, panthers, and flower children made the world sweet and just again. Just walking over to you both took an enormous amount of will. My legs were rubbery, oxygen in short supply. Summoning the courage to open my mouth and speak without my head exploding was the chance I had to take. But I had no choice. "Are you one of the Doors?" I blurted out. Ray paused, taking in this 14-year-old with a huge afro that gave me an additional 7 inches in height. Wearing a lime green suede jacket, paisley patterned shirt, and skin-tight bell-bottom jeans. "Yes, I'm Ray." "I thought so. You play organ. Do you know Danny Sugarman?" I asked. Clearly surprised by the unexpected question, Ray turned and looked at you, then back at me and said, "Yes, I do. Why do you ask?" I was flabbergasted. Danny was my friend. When he learned I was into the Doors, we hung out a lot more. But he always bragged about knowing Jim Morrison and working at the Doors office to everyone at school. I wanted to believe him, but really, what were the odds of a school kid knowing and hanging out with the biggest rock stars in LA? "Really," Ray said. "Really," I said. A lot of LSD. "Really, we go to school together. And does he know Jim Morrison and work at the office?" Ray smiled. "All true. What's your name? I'll tell Danny I met you." But it was my close friendship with Danny, years later, while he was managing Ray and I was working as a rock photographer, that brought me directly into your lives. Danny and I met in the 9th grade when I was bused to an all-white school after previously attending only predominantly Jewish public schools in the Fairfax district. In the locker room at Orville Wright Junior High in Westchester, Danny Sugarman and I exchanged racial slurs and insults, his in English, mine in both English and Yiddish. I wouldn't translate and told him to ask his mother. The next day, I was sitting in Harriet's kitchen after school, eating a bagel and cream cheese with Danny. Apparently, when he had asked his mother to translate the Yiddish insults I had hurled at him, conveniently leaving out his own, she was thrilled that there was finally someone who shared their culture attending his school and demanded that he make friends. Danny never revealed that I was neither Jewish nor fair-skinned. The surprise would be his gift to her. Danny brought me into the kitchen, introduced me, and Harriet blinked once. After a second blink of the eye, she casually asked, "So, "You're Danny's new friend. Where did you learn Yiddish?" And she treated me like a son from that moment on, a remarkable woman. When I shot the Night City album cover for Ray and told him I was about to enter Cal Arts, he said that I was an artist and not just a rock photographer. You have no idea how much it meant to me when you and Ray purchased a photograph of mine at my first exhibition out of art school. It gave me a lot of confidence. It was the first sale, evidence that I could actually make a living making art. When we were growing up, my parents always gave my brother and I the same career advice. We don't care if you become the president of the United States or a garbage collector. Just be the best president or the best garbage collector. We will be proud no matter what you do. Just be the best. Remember, you've got to work twice as hard to get half as far in this world. So be prepared. My idea was to enter Cal Arts and get an understanding of art that would set me apart from the commercial photographers I would be competing with, who were trained in traditional design schools like Art Center. In my 22-year-old mind, I reasoned that artists have a unique style and perspective, which would benefit me in developing my own singular style. I enrolled at Cal Arts, and in little time, learned to keep my grand plan to myself. Just uttering the word commercial gave me the esteem of a heretic at an inquisition. Within 6 months, I forgot about aspiring to become a fashion or commercial photographer. I had drank the Kool-Aid. A steady diet of Marxist art history and feminist theory mixed with critical thinking left me searching for a nobler path to take with my camera. My first semester there, I told John Baldessari of my plan to use Russian agitprop techniques and infiltrate the world of commercial photography, shooting magazine ads and billboards that were encoded with counter-consumerist signifiers, doing my part to bring about equitable social change and revolution. "Your thinking is muddled," was his reply. Then he generously listed specifics in support of his contentions. Art school was tough. Later, I acquired more critical thinking skills and an introduction to Marxist critique. I remember visiting my parents and seeing a shiny new Mercedes in the garage one evening. I accused them of playing a part in the destruction of the world with their capitalist enterprise and appetites for luxury. My mother coolly replied, "The tainted capitalist dollars we make pay for your art school. Would you like us to stop?" End of discussion. Love, Todd. Dear Dorothy, the most difficult task for me was dressing for school. I was most conflicted when I had to teach, much more than I could have imagined. The romantic notion of an artist as a non-conforming anti-materialist is ever present in art school. The blue-collar working person's aesthetic informs the way faculty dress as well. I felt, a little shout out there. All love. I felt like an interloper walking to my class. I got a break. It's so funny because there's a lot of LB people out here. LB in the house. Okay. I felt like an interloper walking to my class wearing Yohji Yamamoto or lecturing on the semiotics of class and post-colonialism while wearing Jill Saunders pants, Issey Miyake shirt, and a Comme des Garçons jacket. Eventually, I settled into a uniform, black Nike trainer pants or black cotton slacks from Barney's, and Issey Miyake shirts. It took a while for me to warm up to the Nike trainers. My mother never allowed us to wear sweatpants or athletic gear as casual wear. She thought it undignified and uncouth. Lacking class. Proper Negroes dressed appropriately for place and occasion at all times. She was hell-bent on raising my brother and me properly. I was able to exorcise most of the rules she learned while growing up in Chicago's racially intolerant culture. My mother came of age at a time when black girls in public space were viewed as either housekeepers or whores, not as young ladies. Teaching art gets messy, and I was not about to ruin helmet-laying pants with chemical stains in the darkroom. When you entered the house, okay, here we go. When the Getty asked me to give an artist talk on Man Ray, on the Man Ray photographic exhibition, I knew you and Ray would be there. After the talk, we all came to my home for gumbo. When you entered the house, both of you looked as if you'd just come from a Vogue photo shoot. Elegant and understated. Quite a contrast to the bulging plastic trash bag dangling from Ray's hand. Since Ray was a fashion-forward clothes fiend, always up to date and impeccably dressed, I had asked him months before how he thinned out his wardrobe, making room for the new. "I just give them to our housekeeper," he said. I offered to keep house for a suit, but I was only half joking. "What's in the bag?" I asked. "Here, open it," he replied, handing it to me. The bag must have weighed 20 pounds or more. My eyes widened as I looked inside and pulled out a yellow linen sport coat, then a black wool coat, and a dark navy suit. The raw silk was tingly to the touch. "Try them on," said Ray. They fit almost perfectly, and I was beaming. "These look fine on you, Todd. They don't even need to be tailored." This was the same night Sobieski and Manzarek, the two alpha males at the party, squared off in my backyard. They were both of the same generation, height, and stature. Robert Sobieski asked the first question. Robert, the collector, academic, cultural Brahmin. "How do you know Todd?" "We've worked together," said Ray. "And you?" "The same," replied Robert, economical in his answer, not eager to reveal too much. The poker game began. After a pause, enough time to take a couple of puffs from a cigarette, Ray broke the silence. "What kind of work brought you two together?" "Art. What about you?" "The same." Neither was willing to show his cards too soon. Instead, they just circled each other like two fighters in the ring, each sizing up the other, waiting for the right moment to deliver the blow that would earn his opponents instant respect. Each spoke commandingly about art exhibits seen, obscure films watched, and poets read. Sobieski threw a jab. "Do you read the beat poets?" "Yes, quite a bit. In fact, I collaborated with a poet for years." This was the opening Sobieski was waiting for. "Me too. You've read Naked Lunch." "William Burroughs is one of my favorites," Ray said. "Well, I've been working with Burroughs for a few years, curating a major exhibition of his work coming to the County Museum, LACMA, in the spring. One could sense a tone of self-satisfaction in the timbre of his voice. "What poet did you collaborate with?" "His name was Jim Morrison. We played music together in a band you may have heard of called The Doors." Then he took a drag from his cigarette, warmly embracing the silence. I liked Jim Osterberg. Iggy Pop, his alter ego, and I had our differences, though. I was just out of high school and felt uneasy around Iggy and couldn't understand why Danny managed both Ray and the Stooges. Backstage at the Whiskey A Go-Go, before Iggy and the Stooges went on stage, Danny reminded me yet again that I was in for something special. This is rock and roll. MC5, the Stooges, and the Doors are the only American rock and roll bands, and the Stooges are the only ones left standing, said Danny. Iggy took the stage wearing thigh-high dominatrix boots with stiletto heels, a skimpy black bikini bottom, and glitter makeup. That was it. His gender-bending presence sent me into a panic instantly. Transfixed, he stared out from the stage as if he was in a trance. Well, he was in a trance, and I could smell danger looping back and forth from the audience, and Iggy expanding geometrically into an adrenalized frenzy. And the band hadn't even started to play yet. Iggy just stalked the stage, panther-like. A couple of years later, to my regret, I was sharing a house with Iggy, and thankfully on occasion, Jim would surface. This was when Danny was managing both. Ray rented the house on Wonderland Avenue in Laurel Canyon and used it as a rehearsal studio, office, and residence for Danny. Lots of drugs were consumed in that house. Lots. When Danny and Ray went out on the road with Night City, Ray wanted me to stay there to ensure that the Stooges wouldn't wreck the place. I was living with my parents at the time, and the opportunity to have my own house in Laurel Canyon was intoxicating. Danny didn't tell me this right off, though. He was very cagey. Nor did he tell me Iggy would be my roommate. Kicking heroin, sedating himself with Quaaludes to ease the pain of withdrawal. When I came by the house to pick up the keys the day before he left for the road, Danny mentioned in passing, "By the way, Iggy will be rehearsing here a few times a week, and you've got to be here to let them in. Don't let it turn into the party or wreck the place. If you have any problems with them, call me immediately. Thanks, man. Ray and I really appreciate this. Love, Todd." Dear Dorothy, 2 weeks before the first anniversary of Ray's passing, FedEx delivered a box sent from the archive. Dave Tukowski was very thorough, cataloging and uploading pictures of the complete wardrobe onto a private website so I could make my selection. Well, we're gonna do a little pastiche mix-up here. Okay, just try to follow along. If you want it all in sequence, get the catalog. At the oddest of times, I'd catch myself playing out one of my well-practiced neurotic patterns of stress and worry, only to have Ray interrupt the cascading inner dialogue, triggered by the look and feel of the linen or silk against my dark skin. His soothing basso profundo voice entered my head, telling stories of the golden age of Aquarius and the invisible hand of the universe present in all things. Reminded of how he hugged and consoled me, letting in the light to help me find my way out of the malaise of guilt after my divorce. Ray had a talent for consistently finding the positive half of the equations presented to him. My father had a similar talent. Those particular genes were not passed on to me, though. Sometimes I would ask myself, what would Ray do at this time? And seek counsel. Love, Todd. Dear Dorothy, thinking back, I was curious about the metaphysical effects of wearing only Ray's wardrobe, his energy, spirit, and other traces of being, less so for the semiotics and class signifiers that came to my consciousness, depending on the time and place. I wanted to make an artwork and show the immense gratitude and respect I have for Ray, keeping his memory alive and affecting my own head, heart in the process. Many people were bewildered when I told them I was performing a year-long art action in which I exclusively wore clothes that had belonged to Ray. But if the person was curious, I'd tell more. Talk about Ray's impeccable taste in fashion, share some of my history with him and my desire to experience each waking hour as art, social sculpture. I never intended to make a significant artwork or engage in institutional critique. My love for Ray, plus my need to make a statement about his significance and situate him in the visual art world, fueled my desire to make this year-long action. Ray's commitment to and understanding of art influenced my development as an artist. His support and respect for me as an artist, first and foremost, were immensely valuable. I wanted to bring him into the orbital sphere of the art world. Ray was an insatiably curious, thinking artist who told his story primarily through music. He was also a nattily dressed enigma. Well-educated with a fine visual sensibility, way beyond the bourgeois aesthetics that correspond to most who shared your Beverly Hills zip code or the even more rarefied Napa Valley zip code. Although the Doors' continuing material success allowed you and Ray to live highly privileged lives, you both remained who you are. The same couple I met when I was 14. Your feet firmly planted among the flowers. Although the two of you did not indulge in ostentatious material consumption or display your wealth, Ray's wardrobe had all the subtle coded signifiers of the elite. But if you did not shop regularly at Barney's, Neiman's, or Bergdorf's, you probably wouldn't be able to recognize the signs. When I attended art openings wearing these clothes, I was often mistaken for a collector. The morning after the performance ended, May 20th, 2015, I returned my clothes to their rightful place in the closet. The first thing I reached for was my favorite pair of jeans. Eerily, they felt foreign on my skin. When I confronted the image staring back at me in the mirror, it did not feel as if it was entirely my own. And in that moment, the performance began its slow drift into memory and myth. Thank you, Dorothy. Love, Todd. All right.
That was pretty beautiful.
Thank you.
This is the piece.
This is how it all started.
This is how it all started. Here it is. It's a beautiful image. So, of the beginnings, there are many, and it's interesting insofar as, you know, hearing through the letters Ray's significance in your life. But it was Ray who would encourage you to pursue your dreams of being a photographer. But before then is the question, when did you pick up the camera? And what was the influence? Who or what was the influence leading you to do so?
Well, I love rock music, and I wanted to be close to the stage, and I didn't want to pay for tickets. So my friend Niels Lozauer, pictured above, and I were...
Is he here tonight? Did he make it?
He told me, I said I'd give him a shout out, and he even said, no, I might be here, but don't give him a shout.
Okay.
So anyway...
He might be here.
Yeah, he might be here. Anyway, he looks like that, but plus another 50 years. So Zloz, as I call him, Zloz, we went to junior high school, he went to Fairfax, I went to Hamilton and Crenshaw. We went to concerts together, and we started shooting. And we started shooting concerts at 15. And we loved it, and then all of a sudden, we started selling our photos to record shops, Aaron Brothers, right across from Fairfax High. We would get our friends to make, at Hamilton High, fake photo passes, so we'd get in and sneak in, fake laminate photo passes. And we got a really good portfolio of pictures. And then we started taking them to the record companies to show them, to try to get jobs, get paid.
I love the fact that the press passes allowed you to get close enough.
Yeah.
That was you could get in, but that still didn't guarantee that you would get the kind of photograph.
No, because the beefy football guys, they wouldn't know what a proper press pass was. But once you got really close to the stage or tried to get backstage, they knew what the real deal was, and you'd either get kicked out or just said, hey, or get it ripped off your lapel or something. So, but in the meantime, we'd amassed a good collection of pictures and went to record companies, and Roland Young at A&M Records called John somebody at Capitol Records, and he said, I got these two kids, but they really can really shoot. And we were competing against these older guys with Rolleiflex, medium format cameras, twin lens cameras with flashes, and all they knew how to do was shoot a picture with a big flash. And what we did was we shot with the available light. So we really got the feeling of the stage, and we processed our own color film. So we had pictures that the previous generation could not produce. And so at 16, we shot Cannibal Adderley live at the Troubadour, the Black Messiah, and we also shot Cheech and Chong. That was their first concert venue. They were the opening act, and they were with A&M Records.
Yeah, but before you shot at the same time or around that time, and I love this picture because that's you in the mirror.
Yeah, and that's Neil with the camera. And that's Johnny Winter, who we just got totally ripped with angel dust. He was so ripped. He was about to go on Midnight Special, and he could barely. And we said, I don't know.
Yeah.
We told him, hey, no, ah. I've only done it once, Mom and Dad.
You were, but in terms of the I just want to clarify the extent to which it was a business. And I jokingly said to Todd a couple of days ago, I said, your life sounds remarkably like the film with Cameron.
Cameron Crowe.
Cameron Crowe. Yeah, and what's the name of the film with Cameron Crowe? Almost Famous by Cameron Crowe. To which you...
Cameron.
There's Cameron Crowe, right. And then when you were like, I know him. I knew him. Like,
Yeah, that was backstage for Led Zeppelin. And then Cameron and I would hang out because we were the only guys that were the same age. So it was the three of us. It was Nils Lozauer, Cameron Crowe, myself. Well, Danny Sugarman was there, and Harold Bronson. And Harold, those of you may know, opened, that record store in Westwood that went everywhere. Rhino. So he went on to be a
this is a guy,
big business guy. But that's
more. I did not hear this. This is like more information comes out.
Oops, sorry.
which was the point of this discussion. But you shot. But at the same time, you're shooting the Cannonball Adderley image. That when I was talking about the extent to which it was a business.
Oh yeah.
Between you and Niels had a business.
Yeah.
Like cash, producing the pictures,
Oh, yeah.
selling them to publications.
Right.
So you were shooting for Crawdaddy.
Rock.
Yeah.
Hit Parader, Zoo World, Melody Maker in London. There was some kind of rock magazine in Japan that we'd send overnight packages to. That was about, and some in the Netherlands, we'd send some, yeah, anyway, Italy, Europe. We were making, that's how I got my Toyota.
So, at the tender age of 16. Yeah. So how did this translate? Is this Yes?
This is Yes,
backstage?
yeah.
Yes.
And this was my last concert.
And that's you.
That's me, yeah.
Right,
I
so
don't know
Neil
why.
shot the picture.
Yeah, that's Rick Wakeman from Yes and so forth. That's at the San Diego Convention Center, and I'd been hanging out at Cameron's apartment in San Diego all day, and we played ping pong and hung out, and then we came to the concert together because Cameron was going to be on the stage list too, so that's why we hung out, because we could do stuff and then just go right backstage and get to work. I think he was writing for Rolling Stone for that, or Playboy, I forget.
So how did this translate into you getting the job of a lifetime shooting the Exile on Main Street tour?
Well, here we are, 17. It's my last semester at Hamilton High School, and Neil's favorite band was the Stones. And I mean, I like the Stones too, but not like he was.
Well, who was your favorite?
Jimi Hendrix.
Oh, sorry. I thought I'd ask. Yeah.
I mean, the Stones are really great, but ain't no Hendrix. Okay. I mean, it's like the blues played by a blues man. Okay, now here we go. So I called up, and we'd done stuff for Atlantic Records and so forth, and so I got the phone number of Marshall Chess, who was the manager of the Stones, and who I called him every Wednesday for 3 or 4 months solid, trying to get an appointment to show my portfolio, and he never answered the phone. There was this thing called an answering service. So the person that picks up and then writes a note. So every week we would call until sometime in April, the answering service said something, and then I hear click, click, who the fuck are you? I've got so many damn messages. What the fuck is your problem? And I go, oh, Mr. Chess, my name's Todd Gray, and I'm a rock and roll photographer, and I want to shoot the Stones. And he could tell from my voice he was completely curious. Okay, come up to where was it, Laurel Canyon, or I forget, one of the end of the hills somewhere. Be there at 1 o'clock tomorrow. My secretary will give the address. Click. So Lowe's and I show up at 1 o'clock, and we got big 16 by 20 prints in a portfolio, and he's going, oh, concert picture of Cream, a concert picture of somebody else, and he gets to see a concert picture of Little Richard, and he goes, oh. Then he goes and sees a concert picture, a killer picture of Chuck Berry. Little did I know, his father, Chess Janis, the record company that for his father.
Chess was his father?
Yes.
Of course they would name like Chess.
Yeah, and so that's what he grew up on. He said to us right then, he stopped everything, 2 17-year-olds, if you can shoot Chuck Berry and make him look this good, man, the Stones, no problem, tell me what you want. And we said, we want to shoot him everywhere, but our parents would only let us shoot him in California, so we went on the California tour.
17. This is 17.
Well, they didn't want us to miss too much school. So we started in San Francisco and at Winterland, and then we ended up all the way to San Diego, and then halfway through the tour, or 2/3 through the tour, Jim Marshall was on the tour, and he was shooting an exclusive for Life magazine, but he wasn't showing Life magazine anything. And Lowe's and I developed our film that night. Every night after a concert, we develop it, and then we'd take it to Marshall Chess's office, and the Stones would look at him. And they started grumbling, like, these kids, well, they can shoot, and we haven't even seen anything from this Life photographer. So then they showed the Life editors, the Life writer who was on it. He called New York, and we were in the photo pit, only had 3 songs, and we had to leave the photo pit. The last day, we were given stage access, and we're shooting for Life magazine officially. So we were escorted onto the stage by the head of publicity of Atlantic Records, introduced to every security person, being told, no, they are real. Do not, even though we had
real 17-year-olds, like not fake 17-year-olds.
And so, I got to tell you this. So, we're backstage, we're on this stage and stuff, but, hold on. Oh, here it is. See that? That's like Keith's Jack. That's Keith's Jack. And what you don't see are Keith's lines of powdery substances. Happy, all it was like wow. My mind was blown, the amount of things that were on top of amplifiers backstage, which is why there's so much security and you can't get on stage at a Stone show. Yeah. So there we are, and it was, and then after that concert, I thought, well, shit, my life is done. What can you do after this?
And you graduated 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later, yeah.
From high school.
Yeah, and I almost failed my photo class
Yeah.
because I didn't do the final project. Because I was doing all the Stone shit. Don't follow my example. Okay.
So you enroll.
Oh, this is a photo that was in Life, by the way. Okay. Oh, yeah, we got Jim Marshall. We broke his exclusive. And on a quick aside, so then 10 years later, or 7 years later, I'm at Cal Arts, and I'm being shown The Americans by Robert Frank.
Okay.
And I'm going, Robert Frank, there was a film guy on tour that I met named Robert Frank. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, I was on the Stones. He goes, that's the same Robert Frank. Because, he filmed Cocksucker Blues, which I'm told is being played at film form tonight in New York. Yeah, and introduced by Robert Frank. So, hey, Robert. Zeppelin.
Oh yeah.
So, shall I roll or?
No, you're on a roll, baby. But I just wanted to to mark the periods, because I think it's interesting that at one point you decided you didn't want to be a photographer.
Oh, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like after your life had peaked at 17.
I wanted to be the guy that hired the photographer. So, and that's Cameron, because in Zeppelin we were hanging out and stuff. There were so many parties and things. And that's, with the manager of Zeppelin and so forth. Yeah, so that was at the Continental Hyatt House. And there's Iggy, who I did not know I would be sharing a house with. I should have known. And so this is sort of like the scene at the time.
And who are these?
Oh, this is Divine.
Divine, I know on the right, but who's that?
That's some guy with a beard. How many know who this is? Well, get down, yeah. That's Slade, absolutely. Okay, and I just want to give you a little Rob Keck. So this is what Neil and I were shooting. We were shooting Tim Boland. Mark Boland, thank you. T-Rex, thank you. Getting old.
We already made the LSD disclaimer, so you're okay.
The Reverend, very good. Who said Reverend? Hello. No. And but this is the scene that we were in, and I was shooting that. But and this is like the bikini that I wrote about, and the dominatrix, and wearing it. This was Iggy, who scared the shit out of me. But after a while, Neil and I we finished business. I wanted to be a publicist. I wanted to be the guy that hired the photographer. So I was told that you need to be a writer. So I started writing, because publicists have to write press releases and bios and things. So I got published in Billboard or Record World and Cashbox, the trade publications at the time. Got a few tear sheets, something in Zoo World magazine, which is a rock thing that's out of Florida that no longer exists. And I took my writing samples to all the publicity agencies and record companies. And based on that, I knew everybody, because I knew all the editors and all the writers of music, because they see me and they buy Neil and myself's photographs. I was hired at ABC Records. and my first act to work was Chaka Khan. So Tell Me Something Good was the first record that I worked. So
And you're 20?
no, I'm 19.
We haven't broken the 20 mark.
Maybe
yet.
I'm 20. All I know is I'm drinking illegally, but they don't know that. So I'm, and then I'm. So do you want to hear the Marvin Gaye thing?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But no. I'm just curious about at this time. There's also an interesting divide that plays itself out. I mean, in terms of how race rears its head, insofar as you had wanted to be, you build yourself as a rock photographer, right? But then in terms of selling your services to, and this is 1970.
Oh, three, four.
Mm-hmm. You're putting yourself out there. You've got your portfolio. You decide to be you want to be a publicist. You make some writings. This is what I can do, and the record companies slot you over to their black roster.
Right.
At that time.
It was a big surprise to me because I've just been shooting, as you can see, lots and lots of rock. I was a rock junkie. I was a rock junkie because I didn't think black culture was substantive. I thought black culture was B culture. It wasn't A-list culture. I drank the Kool-Aid, and I had a colonized mind. I thought dominant culture, whatever dominant culture did, was the greatest thing possible. And aside from that, it was funny. I got in this argument with Robert Plant one night, and he was telling me he's telling me the black music is everything. Black music is the greatest music. The blues, he says, Zeppelin's nothing. He says, all we do is play Mississippi Delta blues loud and fast. That's all we do. And I said, what are you talking about, man? I said, what do you mean? You don't know it. I said, that's what my dad listens to, that blue shit. And he's going, no. And so we're getting in this big exchange. So I undervalued the culture, and so it was a shock to me that I was only working black artists. I thought I would be working with Three Dog Night and Steely Dan and the other.
Instead, you got Chaka Khan.
And instead, I got Chaka Khan. I said, okay, but I'm hiring the photographer, so okay, it's cool.
But interesting in terms of the shout out given to Alan Sekula. You credit Alan with, in terms of, to fast forward to graduate school, with a real raising of your consciousness.
Yeah, I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be conscious, I wouldn't be self-aware, I wouldn't be as human as I am had I not studied with Alan. Alan when he found out I was Michael Jackson's photographer, now we're gonna fast forward to like 1988, when I was at grad school. At CalArts. So I did two. I did 77 to 79. I was an undergrad at CalArts. Then I went back 87 to 89 to grad school, and I studied with Alan. And he basically found out I was Michael Jackson's photographer, that I owned the copyright, and I had this huge archive. Kathy Opie had told Catherine Lord that I was Michael's photographer, and Catherine Lord told Alan Sekula. So then he said, wow, Todd, you got to do something, a photo text piece. And he gave me a reading list of Bell Hooks, Cornel West, Frantz Fanon, Skip Gates, W.B. Du Bois. I mean, just this huge reading list. I mean, I got a mini crash course in black culture and history from this Polish American. And it was really sort of embarrassing. He knew so much more about the culture, and he said, and then through all of this writing, I started writing about Michael Jackson for my thesis, and using these Michael Jackson photos, and sort of using him as a poster boy for someone whose mind is colonized and is just self-identified with white culture. And then halfway through me writing this thesis, I go, oh God, that's me. And that's when I really had political awareness. And that's when I realized the hegemony of dominant culture, how it sort of seeps in. It's like a fish. The fish has no idea there's water. That's dominant culture. Oxygen, dominant culture. So that really brought my awareness up to speed and affected my thinking. But prior to that, no, I was kind of, couldn't understand why these record companies, later when I'd shoot album covers, they would just give me black artists. And when I was a publicist, I would only get black acts, and I couldn't quite understand that. So that's how naive and drunk of dominant Kool-Aid I was.
Wow. So now back to Marvin Gaye. the anecdote about Marvin Gaye in your years as a publicist and just some of the things you would have seen.
So I was at Nassau Coliseum, and Chaka Khan was opening up for Marvin Gaye. Then they did their act, and Marvin didn't come on stage, and the whole place was going crazy, and I was backstage, and I opened up a door. There's an attaché case full of cash. There's Marvin with a gun in his hand, and there's a couple other people, and I closed the door. I asked one of the guys in the room, what the hell was going on? And he said, the cash wasn't straight, and Marvin does not go on if the cash ain't right. And he gave the guy an ultimatum. You make it right, I don't go on, or I'm gonna use this thing. And lo and behold, the extra money that was missing appeared in 10 minutes. And then Marvin went on, but that was like freaky.
Oh, yeah. So the other acts, you had Gladys Knight and the Pips.
Yeah.
As well. But you also, you weren't shooting then. In terms of your return to photography, when did that happen?
Oh, I returned after I had stomach condition, nervous stomach from being a publicist. I just couldn't handle it. It just it freaked me out. So I decided to go back to photography. And I assisted a guy named Antonin Krotokvil, who was a great, great Czech photographer who moved to LA. I'd seen his work in the West magazine, which was in the Sunday LA Times, and it was like Guy Bourdin. It was just fantastic European sensibility. And I called, and I got his number from the LA Times, called him up, and I said, I want to assist you. And I assisted him, and I started shooting, and I put a portfolio together, like this, and I started shooting, and yeah, I got back into it, and then I realized, oh my gosh, I'm shooting like Antonin Krotokvil. I'm not shooting Todd Gray, and that's when I decided to go to art school and get a BFA, and so that was my grand plan, because I knew I was going to be competing with Art Center people, and I knew also just my experience, my practical life experience. If you don't have something unique, you're not going to get hired. They're going to hire someone from majority culture. So the only way, that's what I was always taught, you have to bring something that's more valuable than your competitors and that's unique. So I thought, you know what, if I have this art language and I put that in my commercial work, I'll be able to survive. And so that's what I did. Went to Cal Arts, and then I got out and started shooting some celebrities and so forth. But I got to back up a couple, because I got to tell you who I was hanging with right before that. This is Ed Dodson, D-O-D-S-O-N, AKA the Yankee Bandit, AKA the world record holder for bank robberies. He got arrested on his 64th bank robbery. He was robbing banks. He was the sweetest guy. No, sweetest guy. And he was robbing banks, dating Marissa Berenson, and nursing his heroin habit. So we just go in really quick, and they call him the Yankee Bandit because he had a Yankee cap and go like that. You never see his face when he left the bank. Okay, little trivia, but Ed and he had a
new anecdote. Yeah. Didn't hear about this one.
Yeah. He had a deco shop on Melrose near Gardner and called Dodson's. Len, are you here? Okay, she didn't make it. That was another person from that era. Anyway, that's Dodson. He's the only person that got a vegetarian night at Folsom Prison. And once a month because he's a veg. Okay, so anyway.
But these were, when you were working with Tocqueville, or I guess right after you went to grad school, you marketing yourself as a fashion photographer versus fashion and portraiture, deciding that would be a way to get a foot back into the record business.
Yeah, after I got my BFA, I was taking these portraits and these fashion photos, and I was hardly I couldn't support myself as a fashion photographer. So when I was going to the record companies with my portfolio, they'd say, well, what we need is a fashion photographer to give these artists who were just off the streets, the cool look. So what I did was I got enough tear sheets and I tested with enough models to put together a portfolio. And I went back to the record companies and I said, I'm a fashion photographer. But it had been like 6 months of testing with models, makeup artists, and people like that to get this fashion portfolio. And my first job I got was making a portrait for Gladys Knight for CBS Records.
Oh, wow. So in that earlier one with Diane Lane.
Oh, that was kind of after. That was
after.
That was a little after, but I thought it was appropriate for that style that I was shooting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, or it could have been. It was near that. Yeah, it was near that time. Yeah, that's Diane Lane when she was extremely young. And Carol Burnett's daughter. That was for Australian Vogue. Okay, so and then what happened was I'll segue. Mm-hmm. So her manager was
oh yeah, right.
Ron Weisner and Freddie DeMann, and they managed the Jacksons. So they saw this young guy just out of art school in 1979 who delivered the goods, could shoot well, and so they hired me to start shooting the Jacksons. And then Michael took a liking to me and just told them only to hire me from now. And he sort of like ripped me from the Jacksons, and I became his photographer. So, and the funny thing with working with Michael was that I had to kind of maintain a certain kind of, I couldn't let him know how smart I was. If I would start a conversation, if it would go into a direction that he wasn't familiar with, you don't want your client to think you're smarter than he. It's just not good in the entertainment world. That's one thing I know for a fact. It's not a good way to nurture a working relationship. So I would always have to dial it down. I remember one conversation we had on the plane. I asked him, well, it's funny, I was late to come down and I missed the limos to the airport. And I had to take a taxi cab, and you don't want to know why I was late. So I get to the airport in this taxi, and the tour manager said, you're late, so now you're going to suffer. And I said, oh no, what? She's going, you're sitting next to Michael on this. And she knew because I told her how uncomfortable I get with Michael talking, because I can't just make small 13-year-old talk all the time. And so she knew that would be a really supreme punishment, is to make me sit with him. So I'm sitting with Michael, and then I'm going, hey, Michael, I know you must listen to, what kind of music you like? He goes, oh, I like all music. And I said, oh, you like jazz? I love jazz. I said, oh, then you probably like Bird. Who? Yardbird. Who? I go, oh, nobody. What about Train? You listen to Train? John Cole? Who? And I go, well, I'm sure you like Miles Davis. Oh, I love Miles Davis. He's dating my friend Shirley. Who did he marry? The actress.
Oh, Cicely Tyson.
Cicely Tyson. He's dating my friend Cicely Tyson. I go, yeah, that's great. Yeah, and so and then it changed. So I had to I was never safe. I thought, I'm gonna blow it. I'm gonna get fired by the next stop. He's gonna know I'm kind of got something up here. So, but a wonderful, sensitive man. I mean, it really, no, down, giving money. He wanted to, I was on a bus with him, and he really described to me what We Are the World was going to be. He wanted to make a book that had my photographs of people distressed in Africa and India, to show how all the suffering that children are having, and to get money to help these people. And he was very conscious. I turned him on to Hines,
Teresa Hines?
No. Louis Hine. Thank you, my photo history people in the audience. To Louis Hine, the photographs of the child labor at the turn of the century that subsequently child labor laws came about because of his photos. And I got him. We go to bookstores together. It was the worst having to go with Michael, because when you go to a bookstore with Michael, nobody's there but you and him. So they call ahead, they empty it out. You go in, you come out, and I picked a Louis Hine book for him. I said, hey, check this out. And that's when we started talking about how he'd like to help kids in the world and so forth. And then you never enter a hotel or anything from the front door. You always enter through the back door in Atlanta when it's 100 degrees, and you're going through the alley, and there's fish garbage and everything, and it smells like hell revisited. That's how you go to hotels, and that's how you roll. And it's like,
star.
Yeah, as a star.
Suffering.
Yeah, suffering. But it was nice meeting Andy Warhol. No, Andy was really cool.
Yeah,
He invited me to have lunch with him the next day at the factory. He took my photograph and he took a liking to me, so I was hanging out with him at the factory. And then some assistant comes out with a proof print, and he goes, Todd, what color should I make this area? And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, I'm just out of CalArts 1 year, and Andy Warhol is asking me what color. And I go, I'll be damned if I was going to say what color to Andy Warhol. So I said, I don't know, Andy. It looks nice like it is. Are you sure? Yeah, it looks great. Okay, we'll keep it. And then we got back. I mean, Andy just rolled easy. He rolled really easy. Another really quick Warhol.
Oh no, this is what this is. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Okay. So
and you've got the pictures to prove it.
So I'm at the Hotel Pierre, which is a very exclusive hotel, or the Palace. Anyway, some crazy hotel because I'm staying with Michael. But then Michael goes to another city, and I got to supply my own accommodations. So I'm at my friend's in Harlem. And I'm on the Upper West Side, and I'm walking, and I bump into Andy. And at that time, I was only wearing clothes, I drank the Kool-Aid, of this place called Parachute, which was Canadians.
Parachute.
All I wore was Parachute while I worked for the Jacksons, while I was on the road. That's all I wore. And that's what Andy, I think, really saw. He goes, oh. So I bump into him and goes, oh, Todd. Oh, that's great what you're wearing. And he goes, oh, there's a party I want you to come to tonight. Should I call you at the Pierre? And I'm thinking, or the Palace, wherever the hell I was, and I'm thinking, oh God, how can I tell this guy? I go, well, Andy, I'm not exactly there anymore. I'm like at 128th, and he goes, oh, are you in Harlem? Oh, you are so lucky. Those brownstones are so Oh, you are the luckiest guy to be there. Oh, I wish I could. Oh man, you don't know how great that is there, and the view of the river. Oh my God. And he's like, he could see my consternation and everything. And I just thought that was the sweetest thing, just trying to this was before Sakula, and I just thought, oh man, he's going to think I'm some broke-ass Negro, staying in Harlem.
Wow.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Okay. So, I'm just...
No. And the whole evening could have been that. But I want to just fast forward to right a moment that you... a kind of a second life in terms of as a commercial photographer. You in graduate school, you got a number of assignments from MCA that you said were sort of like a tier of B artists of sorts.
Yeah.
Right, where you were shooting. Oh my God. You said B. Wait, there's some A's.
Well, there's. I was gonna.
Like,
No.
wait a minute.
I was gonna put.
Did you shoot that Larry Graham? Did you shoot that record cover?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
That's You're really Michael Jackson's photographer? No, I just say no. So anyway, attitude. Okay. I was gonna put them individually, but then I thought we'd be here all night, so I ganged up the A's with the B's.
Okay, there we go.
So
the A's with the B's. All right. I just wanted to make sure, because he said, I just shot all of MCA's B artists.
No, there's
Tone Loc? Oh my God. Yeah. So these were all you shot these record covers? And this is before Bobby Brown?
Remember? Yeah, Chunky.
See, this
Arsenio Hall's album, yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh, that one, I got the Hasselblad Album Cover of the Year award.
So this was while you were in graduate school.
We'll tell this story a little later.
For MCA.
Yeah, actually, I shot like about a third of these albums while I was still in grad. I got 25% of these albums while I was in grad school. Mind you, I'm only showing you 25. I did a check while I was preparing for this. I just did my name and album cover. Geez, there's some sites that they list all that stuff. It was like 5 pages long, 25 a pop. I was even surprised. Stuff I couldn't even remember I shot.
Yeah, it was funny. You told me, you said dozens and dozens or something.
Yeah,
upwards of 100 or something.
Yeah,
You were saying just as a figure.
Yeah.
But but just to see.
Dougie Fresh and the Get Fresh crew. But Sister Soldier didn't make it. Sorry. All right.
But the big break was Bobby Brown. But I think that the way that you described how you got the job you had to work your way up.
Yeah, basically I started shooting album covers and MCA. I decided I needed MCA records. I was living in the Valley. They were only 5 blocks from my house. And so I wanted an account that was close that I could get to CalArts too. It was very pragmatic. So I just called them, and I used the same kind of chutzpah that I had used to get my job with the Rolling Stones. And I just called them repeatedly till they said, no, it's a drop-off policy. And I said, I really can't drop it off. You need to meet me. And they said, no, it's a drop-off policy. It took a couple months. Finally, I got an interview, or the art director just picked up, what? Come on in. And then he liked me, like my personality, so I shot some of the roster. Mm-hmm. Then they had this young black kid who was leaving New Edition, and they had seen and that time I was toting around my fashion portfolio too, mixed in with album covers, and I was also toting around, I'll go back, it's like some stuff I did for Italian Vogue, which you saw, I just zapped through, but I'll go back to it. And so I'm in this meeting to shoot Bobby Brown. His manager, vice president of creative is there, and Bobby's manager says, this is what I want. I want Bobby in black leather on a Harley Davidson, starting it up at sunset in the desert, and on the ground is this really hot chick. He's just done her, and now he's like boom and going off into the sunset. And I'm thinking, man, I've studied with Catherine Lord. I was classmate with Kathy Opie, and I mean, I'm totally. I said, man, I can't carry on with this kind of misogyny and this like backwards, crazy, vile thinking. But I really needed the money. I got to pay tuition that semester. So I thought, how can I make this work? So I bought time, and I just said, let me get this straight. Okay, I'm one of Bobby's fans from New Edition. I said, what are his fans, boys or girls? I knew the answer. And he said, girls. I go, okay, so I'm this like teenage girl, and I'm in Tower Records, and I see the racks, and I see Bobby Brown. I go, oh, there's Bobby. Isn't he looking fine? And then I say, oh, and he's on this motorcycle, and who's that down there? Oh, and he's just kicking off the dirt on her and the exhaust. And then I said, now that's what you want me to do, right? And they said, oh, no. Well, what do you think? I said, why don't we do what you did and just not have the girl? Okay, great. And then they just gave me complete carte blanche to do whatever I wanted to do. But, I just sort of painted an economic, like you're going to lose money if you do this shot. I didn't try to make it a moral or ethical question. I just said, no, this is economic. And that was, that's.
So do you have the record cover what did they settle on?
Oh, no, this is what they settled on. But then the maxi singles and all the other
in
stuff.
The upper left. So that's.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's the Bobby Brown.
So that was a key decision in crafting his image.
Yeah, they left it to me, and I hired really top people from the fashion magazine world, top stylists, Armani. Oh my God, the styling budget was huge. So yeah, because they knew he was going to be big, and so I pretty much, crafted it.
So one more story before we open it up to questions.
Oh, okay. Art Directors Club, other things I did when I got out of CalArts as a BFA. I went to Italy and took my portfolio to Italian Vogue, and I got 8 pages of Italian Vogue. And so this is like 81, and I thought my life is set. And this was like a style that I'd used for my my BFA portfolio. And then then the Art Directors Club of Los Angeles, they had me shoot it, and I thought I was set, but then I didn't get any work. And it appeared I was too avant-garde.
But this was enough work to get you a call from LA Weekly.
Yeah, so this is okay, I know where you're going. So it's going, and then this is after, in the 90s, after graduate degree, I had to make money to pay off all that tuition to CalArts, so I just started, Chocolate Genius. So I started, Mark Anthony Thompson, who I went to high school with. But anyway, I started, what's her name? Diaz, yeah. And what's her name? Yeah, and what's his name? So I was shooting all these people, Black Enterprise Magazine. I was shooting all this stuff after I got out of art school with my graduate degree because I had to make money and then I.
Did you shoot that pic?
Yeah, I got
that
a
shot?
New York Art Directors Club.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
Yeah. No, that I finally paid off all my school with that. So
I build this as a live event. I'm having a Beatlemania moment live right now. These were the stories that did not come out. I had no idea you shot that jungle.
oh yeah,
Jungle
you
Fever
should have
poster.
seen Spike in the studio. He was like, I had a manicurist there, so Spike was on the phone and getting his nails done and everything. I go, Spike, I need the talent to get their nails done. Okay, in a minute. So and that's Wesley Snipes' hand. He was actually there, and that is the Pillsbury Doll Girl. I mean,
That's her hand?
That's her. That's the most famous.
Ridiculous. A hand model.
So, and then we fast forward to rap.
Yeah.
And I get a call from LA Weekly. They want me to shoot this band, or this guy named Eazy-E, who's in this band called NWA, who's just breaking out. And I just had started shooting rappers at that point because the whole trajectory of the music business was changing, and I was just getting a lot of rappers. So I think, and I just scanned this today. That's why it's all funky and everything. Like 5 hours ago I scanned this. I wasn't going to go and spot it. So anyway, just for you people.
That makes it more real.
So I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to shoot 4x5. So here I am with a 4x5 camera, 4x5. You're under a curtain. You have to put the film back in. It's very, very slow. And shoot the damn photo, man. Shoot the damn photo. And so Easy's like, and then Cube is there, Dre is there. And then Easy pulls out a Glock, and then Q, and then somebody pulls out a shotgun. Because they said, man, hold this shit. And I'm going, Jesus. and then after 4 exposures, they go, we out. And Easy just walks. And there was some coarse language in my direction. And that's when I realized, oh shit, it's class now too. I am other. I am other. So, and then I experienced that a few more times with some rap bands, not all. And that's when I had the realization, oh my God, I'm the old guy with the Rolleiflex with the flash camera. And that's when I put it down and I just went into academics and became a freeway flyer. Morning at Art Center, afternoon at UCLA, evening at Otis, same day. So
that's the full circle.
Yeah.
In terms of the Todd that I didn't know and got to know even better this evening. So thank you so much, Todd.
Thank you.
But I'd like to open it up for questions for these remaining minutes. Insofar as I think this was so many more anecdotes, I am sure. I'm so glad that you found the Eazy-E images in the archive.
Yeah. Oh, I had to drive all over to find the photos that we prepared for today. There were some were in boxes in this house, and there were in boxes in this other studio from Zlozauer. Yeah. Anyway, it was fun going and finding. But it was funny. I took all these if you notice the album covers I took, I've shot over 100, and 2 artists over 100 are not black. There was an apartheid, an unspoken apartheid that was happening in the record companies, and I brought this up to an art director at CBS Records, Tony Lane and Nancy Donald. And I delivered an album package, and then I said, hey, what's the next, what do you got next? And they said, Todd, don't be so aggressive. You're good, don't worry. You'll get, just chill and it'll all keep flowing. And I said, wait a second. I only have access to 20% of your roster. 20% of your roster is black music. Matthew Ralston, Albert Watson, all of these other photographers have access, Raul Vega even, have access to 100% of your roster. I said, I have to be more aggressive because I'm only able to participate in such a small amount. So the next week, I get T-Bone Burnett for a publicity package from the art department, and then that's one of the last jobs I get from them. So but I mean, that's the economics. And I found that Hollywood was more open than the music business, but then I was working for a lot of Japanese magazines. So that's how I had access to a lot of those film stars. I was working for Japanese Cosmopolitan, Japanese Elle, Japanese Playboy, Japanese something else. But no, it's, anyway, that's, you find, wherever challenge is, you find a way. Well, at least that's how I was taught.
I'm just, this was amazing. But are you finding wearing Ray's clothes this time different from the last time?
Yeah, last time I did it, and it was this emotion. It was. I'm compelled to do it now, and I've signed a contract with the museum. I'm compelled to do it. I mean, it's. I want to do it, but I'm compelled to do it, and so there's a slight shift. And now I'm looking forward to when I can get back to my own clothes again. It's sort of.
But there was another shift too, because Dorothy had seen you on a couple of occasions and felt compelled to tell you Ray would never combine that. And so I just wondered, did Dorothy pick this out?
No, Dorothy and I talked, and she saw some of the photos. I didn't have formal photos, but Kyung Mi, my wife, and some other people, and what's Picard's name, who takes snaps everywhere? Marlena Picard, so we'd grab some Facebook photos from her where she'd take snaps, and so I showed those snaps to Dorothy, and I sent them to Ghana to have sign painters make paintings, and that's what's at my exhibition at Melick City and Briggs. So Dorothy looked and said, "He never wore this much black. I'm an artist. Hello." So, back to black. And she said that she wanted to start giving me clothes suggestions and telling me what to pair up, but thankfully she hasn't. Oh, you're looking, you may look at. Hopefully we will carry that out.
Okay.
Like she also wanted me to wear his underwear the first time, and she asked when I requested, I went up there and spent 2 days with her right before the first anniversary of his passing. And when she gave me permission, she said, "Do you want to wear his underwear too?" And I said, "No." And so this time around, when I went up, I said, "Oh, the Hammer Museum has asked me to do it again." She said, "Then I want you to wear the underwear." And I said,
This time with feeling.
But I said, "But Dorothy, I'm not comfortable doing that." She goes, "Well, shouldn't art challenge you? And shouldn't it test your boundaries of comfort?" She has an undergrad degree from UCLA. I mean, Dorothy and Ray met in a drawing class at UCLA. Jim Morrison and Ray Manzarek started the doors at film school at UCLA. I mean, this is a whole UCLA circle. Plus, it's a whole black circle. The Doors basically were blues. I mean, Jim Morrison always said we're a blues band. Blues is black music. So here I am doing this sort of conceptual post-Alan Caprow, post-Fluxus, post-Boys. Boys Black! This whole thing. So now this black body is sort of reaching to this aesthetic. And I'm going, okay, you got the blues. I got your shit now.
That answers the question.
I think culture is just, fun. Let's play with it. Another question?
Can you talk about the work that you're making now?
You want to, or can they? So you'd like me to talk about the work I'm making now?
If you want to.
Yeah, sure. I had about 57 or so canvases painted by Ghanaian sign painters. Kyung Mi and I have a place in Ghana, and it's really affected our art practice. And so I went back. I thought, wow, that would be really interesting, because I don't show the photos, I don't make documents of this piece. So I thought it would be a great way also to bring Ray and this whole artwork into Africa. So right now, I'm using the canvases in various ways of installation, combining them with my own photographs in an autobiographical way. And I will finish when I've made artwork. When I'm finished up with all the canvases, then I'll move on. Previously, I dipped into my archive. This is because of Sekula, who really encouraged me to go into my archive of Michael Jackson work, which was my thesis. And I've returned to that archive 4 times, so this is my 4th time. And I combine that with works from Ghana that I've shot in this sort of mashup. And that's because of the influence that Stuart Hall has had on me. I was at a party at my home with Jana Komfra and Carrie Mae Weems, and in the course of the conversation, they found out that I didn't read Stuart Hall, and they were flabbergasted. And Carrie said, "Darling, you will read Stuart Hall." And I can't imitate Carrie. But those that know. So I read him, and he is the one that put this idea in my head that you have to move constantly so that you cannot be defined. Your image needs to be moving constantly, because once an image, an idea is fixed, dominant culture can then take it and define it, and you no longer define yourself. So he was just, I was playing with this idea. So that's why I thought, you know what, I'm going to use Michael's image that I've taken and combine it with pictures from Africa and recontextualize it, problematize it, and make this idea of the black body keep changing. So there you go.
But the issue with Ghana, you're going to Ghana, that you struck up a friendship with Stevie Wonder. Was that your first time going?
Yeah, Stevie Wonder took me to Ghana. Well, Motown. I was doing a lot of Motown work, and so they sent me to Ghana to shoot an album cover. I think it's called Peace Talk or something like that, or Talk Peace, and to make a tiny documentary video. And Steve kept telling me that, hey, you're from here. This is your place. You got to come back. And so he's the one that encouraged me to buy a place. So 10 years later, as an academic, I was a professor, and I had time off, sabbatical, and Deb Willis at NYU curated me into an exhibition because NYU opened up a satellite campus in Accra, in the capital city of Ghana. So I went there to the exhibition, then I tripped around, I found a beach that had nice waves, and I had my bodyboard, and I like bodyboarding on the beach. This Rasta comes up to me, makes a lobster dinner, smoking a spliff afterwards, and I said, ooh, that's it, I'm here. So my wife came back a few months later. We bought a place built during the rainy season where everybody in the village says, it will not stand. It will not stand, because it was a designer mud hut. And but Steve, it was real funny, really quick, or really not so quick. Steve forgot his passport, and we're on British Airways, and I'm waiting at LAX. They call ahead to the British consulate, and they say, Steve doesn't need a passport to come to the UK. He is a guest of state. So we get in the plane, we go in, and as a guest of state, we don't have to go through customs, so there's a golf cart waiting for us as soon as we get off the plane. We're going past customs, there's a long line, and I see Elvis Costello. And Elvis Costello goes, there's Stevie Wonder. And I'm going, there's Elvis Costello. So.
Time for one more question.
Oh, Cynthia, come on now.
Did he reveal stuff you hadn't known?
Yes. I just would like to know what part of the commercial photography do you take to your final work?
Well, actually,
Yeah, so, like race, like what parts do you reject or embrace?
Well, what part of commercial photography do I reject or embrace? Let's see. I grew up in a generation where if you told a curator you were a commercial photographer, that's it, or a gallerist, that's it. You're either one or the other. But part of some of my heroes were Man Ray, Avedon, Irving Penn, and I said, well, they're showing and selling and all this other stuff. But that's why I never told the commercial people that I was an artist or the flip side. But what I would do is my thinking, I would bring that kind of thinking and problem solving and image making into the commercial world, conceptual problem solving, because that was unique. And I had one style where I would draw on my images, and after I put that style to bed exhibiting, I would then introduce it into the commercial area. Just like my BFA portfolio, that's how I got those really freaky shots in the desert and so forth for Italian Vogue. I took my BFA portfolio to Rome, to Milano, and when they saw that, they came up, oh, can you shoot cosmetics like you're shooting this art stuff in the desert? So, and I'd stopped that technique, and I'd moved on to something else. So the aesthetic. And now I'm at a point in my life, it's visual. It's this categorization, it's context. It's context. Because what? 3/4 of the Michael Jackson stuff was done for commercial reasons and so forth. And now I'm using it as art. It's all context, and it's fluid, and it's visual culture. So it just depends on context. I'm not trying to, I think I'll end it there. Does that sound? Yeah. Okay. Great.
Well, thank you.
Oh, wait, Hamza.
Glad to know you.
The pleasure's been mine.